Daniel looked out the window of his large house. He saw the garden full of colorful flowers and the pool shining in the sun, but his heart was heavy. Daniel was a very rich man, owner of several companies. He had 5 children: John, Sarah, twins Mike and Tom, and Mary. But Daniel was worried about his children. They only think about spending money, thought Daniel. They don't know the value of hard work. Daniel remembered when he was young and poor. He worked hard to build his companies. Now his children had it all too easy. One day Daniel had an idea. He called his youngest son, Peter, to talk. "Peter," Daniel said, "I need your help. I'm going to pretend I died." Peter was surprised. "But why, Father?" Daniel explained his plan. He wanted to see how his children would behave if they thought he was dead. Would they take good care of the money they received? Peter didn't like the idea very much, but he agreed to help his father. He knew Daniel only wanted the best for his children. The next day, the news spread rich businessman Daniel had died. His children were shocked. They didn't expect to lose their father so soon. A week later, everyone gathered to hear the will reading. The family lawyer was there with a large envelope. "I'm going to read Mr. Daniel's will now," said the lawyer. John, the eldest son, was given an oil company. Sarah earned a lot of money to spend however she wanted. Mike and Tom, the twins, received shares in several companies. Mary got a smaller share, but it was still a lot of money. Peter, the youngest, received the smallest share of all. The children were excited about their inheritances. They were already making plans to spend all that money. But Daniel wasn't really dead. He watched everything from afar, using different disguises. He saw John spending the company's money on yacht parties. Sarah bought very expensive shoes and bags. Mike and Tom bet a lot of money on gambling. Mary used drugs. Daniel became sadder every day, watching his children waste everything he had built with so much effort. But there was a ray of hope. Peter, the youngest son, surprised Daniel. He took his small inheritance and turned it into a thriving business. Peter worked hard every day, just as his father had done in the past. After a few months, Daniel decided it was time to reveal the truth. He called all his children to a meeting at the family mansion. When everyone arrived, expecting to hear about new assets left by their father, they were in for a big surprise. Daniel entered the room alive and well. "Dad," they all shouted together. Daniel looked seriously at his children. "Yes, it's me. I didn't really die. I did it to test you." The children were shocked. They didn't know what to say. Daniel continued, "I saw how each of you used the money you received. I am very disappointed." He looked at John. "You, my eldest son, spent the company's money on parties." Then he turned to Sarah. "You bought expensive things you didn't need." Twins Mike and Tom hung their heads when their father said, "You lost millions gambling." Mary began to cry when Daniel said, "And you, my daughter, spent it all on drugs." The children felt ashamed. They knew they had disappointed their father. But then Daniel smiled at Peter. "You, my youngest son, made me proud. You worked hard and made your money grow." Peter smiled back, happy to have pleased his father. Daniel then said something that surprised everyone. "Now, I will take back control of all the companies and assets I gave to you." The other children were shocked. John shouted, "But Dad, that's not fair." Daniel raised his hand, asking for silence. "You have proven that you don't know how to handle so much money and responsibility, but I'm going to give you one last chance." He took some papers out of his pocket. "These are job applications for entry-level positions at my companies. If you want to earn my trust back, you will start from scratch and work hard like I did." The children looked at the papers, surprised. John, who was CEO, would now be a junior analyst. Sarah would have to work as a saleswoman. The twins would go to the logistics department. Mary would work on the company's charitable foundation. "And there's one more thing," said Daniel. "You're all going to live here in the mansion with me. I want to keep an eye on you." The children couldn't believe it. They would have to work simple jobs and live with their father, as if they were children again. Daniel looked at his children. "Your new jobs start tomorrow. I suggest you sleep well tonight. You have a lot to prove." With that, Daniel left the room, leaving his children to think about everything that had happened. They knew the next few days would be difficult, but it was also a chance to show their father that they could change. That night, the mansion was silent. Each son in his room thought about the future and how they could regain their father's trust. A new journey was about to begin for Daniel's family. The next morning, the mansion was bustling. Daniel's children woke up early, nervous about their first day at work. John, who was previously the head of a large company, would now have to work as an assistant. "I can't believe I'm going to have to do office work," John grumbled as he straightened his tie. Sarah, who loved buying expensive clothes, would now have to sell them. She looked at her simple uniform and sighed. "At least I know everything about fashion," Sarah thought, trying to cheer herself up. Twins Mike and Tom were confused about their new delivery job. They had never done anything like this before. "How are we going to deal with all these boxes and trucks?" Mike asked his brother. Mary, still feeling sick from drugs, was nervous about her work at the company's charitable foundation. "What if I can't help anyone?" she asked herself, afraid of failing. Peter, the youngest, was excited. He already knew what it was like to work hard and couldn't wait to begin his new role alongside his father. When everyone was ready, Daniel gathered them in the living room. "Remember," he said, "you are starting from scratch. Show that you can work hard and learn from your mistakes." The brothers looked at each other, nervous but determined. They knew they had a lot to prove. The first few weeks were difficult. John, used to giving orders, now had to obey bosses younger than him. Sarah, who previously only thought about spending, now had to save every penny she earned. Mike and Tom spent their days carrying heavy boxes and driving delivery trucks. His hands, once soft, were now full of calluses. Mary struggled with the urge to use drugs while trying to focus on her work at the foundation. She met people who needed help, and it made her think about her own choices. Peter, on the other hand, was doing very well. He helped his father oversee the business and gave advice to his brothers. This made others a little jealous of him. One day at dinner, John couldn't take it anymore. "It's not fair," he shouted. "Why does Peter have a better job than us?" Daniel looked seriously at his eldest son. "Peter has proven he can handle money and responsibility. When you do the same, you will have more opportunities." The other brothers were quiet, but John continued to complain. "I was CEO. I know more about business than all of you combined." Sarah laughed. "Really? And why did you spend all the company's money on parties?" John turned red with anger. "At least I didn't spend it all on shoes." Soon, everyone was shouting and accusing each other. Daniel hit the table hard, making everyone silent. "Enough," he said. "That's exactly why you're in this situation. You don't know how to work together or respect each other." The brothers lowered their heads, embarrassed. Daniel continued. "From now on, you will have to learn to cooperate. Each week, I will give you a task that can only be completed if you work as a team." The children looked at each other suspiciously. Work together? It seemed impossible. The team's first task was to organize a benefit for the foundation where Mary worked. Each brother had an important role. John was responsible for the budget. Sarah would take care of the decorations and clothing. Mike and Tom would organize logistics such as transportation and assembly. Mary would present the work of the foundation. And Peter would oversee everything, making sure everyone did their part. At first, it was a disaster. John wanted to overspend while Sarah fought over expensive decorations. Mike and Tom argued about the best way to organize deliveries. Mary was too nervous to speak in public. Peter tried to calm everyone down, but it was difficult. He saw his father watching from afar with a worried look. With just a week to go until the party, nothing was ready. The brothers realized that they needed to change their attitude, or they would fail completely. It was Mary who took the first step. "Guys," she said during a tense meeting, "we need to stop fighting. This party isn't about us, it's about helping people who need it." His words touched the brothers. For the first time, they began to think beyond themselves. John used his skills to negotiate better prices with suppliers. Sarah found creative ways to decorate for less. Mike and Tom worked together to create an efficient delivery plan. Peter coordinated everything, helping where needed and encouraging his brothers. Mary practiced her speech every day, gaining confidence. On the night of the party, everything was perfect. The hall was beautiful, the food was delicious, and many important people attended. When Mary took the stage to speak, her voice was steady and passionate. She told moving stories about how the foundation helped people in need. Donations began to arrive. John, using his negotiation skills, managed to get several businessmen to make large contributions. By the end of the night, they had raised more money than they expected. Daniel watched everything with a proud smile. He saw his children working together, supporting each other and celebrating each other's successes. It was exactly what he expected to see. After the last guest left, Daniel gathered his children together. "I'm very proud of you," he said. "You have proven that you can do incredible things when you work together." The brothers smiled, tired but happy. They felt different, like they had learned something important about themselves and each other. But Daniel continued, "This was just the beginning. We still have a long way to go." The children nodded, understanding that their journey of learning and growth was far from over. But now, for the first time, they felt ready to face the challenges together. That night, as they returned to their rooms in the mansion, each of the brothers thought about how their lives had changed. They still had a lot to learn and improve, but something important had happened. They began to see each other as a real family, not just rivals. Time passed quickly in Daniel's mansion. The brothers worked hard at their new jobs, trying to prove themselves. Each day brought new challenges and lessons. John, who previously only thought about expensive parties, now spent hours analyzing numbers and graphs. At first he found it boring, but he soon discovered that he was good at it. One day, John noticed something strange about the company's numbers. "Hey boss," he called his supervisor. "I think I found a way to save a lot of money." The supervisor was impressed with John's discovery. For the first time in a long time, John felt proud of himself. Sarah was changing too. She learned to listen to customers and help them find what they needed, not just what was most expensive. One day, an elderly woman came into the store looking for a gift for her granddaughter. "I want something nice, but I can't spend a lot," said the lady. Sarah smiled and showed some cheaper but still pretty options. The lady was so happy that she came back the following week with her friends. Twins Mike and Tom were doing a great job in the delivery area. They used their twin connection to work as a team. Mike was good at planning routes, while Tom was great at talking to drivers. One day they had a brilliant idea. "What if we use computers to plan routes?" Mike suggested. "That's right. We can deliver more things in less time," Tom agreed. They presented the idea to their boss, who loved it. Soon, the company was saving a lot of money with the new system. Mary was having the most profound transformation. Working at the charitable foundation opened his eyes to the problems of the world. She visited schools and hospitals, helping children and families in need. One day, Mary met a girl who was fighting cancer. The girl was sad because she had lost her hair during the treatment. Mary had an idea. "How about we do a campaign to donate hair?" she suggested to her colleagues. "We can make wigs for kids like her." The campaign was a huge success. Mary felt happy and fulfilled like never before. Peter, the youngest, continued to work hard alongside his father. He learned a lot about running the company, but sometimes he felt alone. His brothers still treated him with suspicion. One day, Peter decided to do something about it. He invited all the brothers to lunch in the park near the office. "Why did you call us here?" asked John suspiciously. Peter smiled. "Because we are a family, we need to learn to get along again." At first, lunch was awkward and silent. But little by little, the brothers began to talk. They talked about their new jobs and the things they were learning. "You know," Sarah said, "I never thought I'd like working in a store." but it's nice to help people find what they need. John nodded. I know what it's like. I thought I'd hate working with numbers, but it's like solving a giant puzzle every day. The twins told them about their new delivery system, and everyone was impressed. Mary talked about the hair donation campaign, and her brothers praised her for the idea. For the first time in years, the brothers were actually talking and listening to each other. Peter watched, happy to see his family reconnecting. When they returned to the mansion that night, the atmosphere was different. Instead of going straight to their rooms, the brothers stayed in the living room, continuing their conversation. Daniel watched everything from afar with a small smile on his face. His plan was working better than he expected. In the following weeks, the brothers began to help each other with their work. John used his number skills to help Sarah manage the store's inventory. The twins helped Mary organize donations for the foundation. One day during dinner, Daniel made an important announcement. I'm proud of all of your progress, he said, but we still have a long way to go. The brothers looked at each other, curious and a little apprehensive. It's time for the final test, Daniel continued. I will divide the company into 5 equal parts. Each of you will be responsible for one part. The brothers were surprised. Would they have to lead their own divisions? But there is one condition, said Daniel. Your success will depend on how well you work together. If you can increase the total value of the company by 50% in the next year, you will each receive your full inheritance back. The room was silent for a moment. Then John said, what if we don't make it? Daniel looked seriously at his children. If they don't make it, all the money will go to charity. The brothers looked at each other, shocked. They would have to work together or lose everything. You have until tomorrow to decide whether to accept the challenge, said Daniel, getting up from the table. That night, the brothers gathered in Peter's room to talk. They knew they had improved a lot in the last few months, but were they ready for this new challenge? It's risky, said John. What if we can't work together? But it's our chance to prove that we've changed, Sarah argued. The twins agreed. We're already getting along better. Maybe we can do that. Mary, who had been quiet, finally spoke. I think we should try. Not for the money, but for ourselves, to show that we can be a real family. Peter smiled at his sister. Mary's right. This is our chance to fix things between us. After much discussion, the brothers reached an agreement. They would accept their father's challenge. The next morning, they went to Daniel's office. We accept it, said John, speaking for everyone. Daniel smiled, proud of your children. Good. The challenge begins now. Remember, you are stronger together than apart. The brothers left the office, ready to face their biggest challenge. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, they felt like they could count on each other. The brothers gathered in the company's meeting room. It was the first day of his father's big challenge. Each of them was now responsible for a part of the company. John took over the finance department. Sarah would handle sales. Mike and Tom would share the logistics. Mary was put in charge of the charitable foundation. And Peter would help coordinate everything. Remember, Peter said, we need to work together to grow the company 50% in a year. The other brothers agreed, but there was still a bit of distrust in the air. They were not used to depending on each other. In the first few weeks, things were not easy. John wanted to control everything, which irritated others. Sarah had crazy ideas to increase sales, which didn't always work out. Mike and Tom sometimes fought over how to organize deliveries. Mary felt lost, not knowing how to make the foundation grow. One day, after a particularly difficult meeting, Peter called everyone together to talk. Guys, he said, we can't go on like this. We need to trust each other and use our skills together. The brothers were quiet for a moment. Then Mary said, Peter's right. Remember how well we worked together at the fundraiser? We can do that again. Little by little, the brothers began to open up. John admitted that he was sometimes afraid of failing. Sarah confessed that her crazy ideas were a way to get attention. Mike and Tom talked about how difficult it was to work together when they were so similar. You know, John said thoughtfully, maybe we can use our differences to our advantage. And so they began to create a plan. John would use his knowledge of numbers to help Sarah choose the best-selling strategies. Mike and Tom would work with Mary to improve donation distribution. Peter would help everyone by making sure they were working together. Over time, things started to improve. The company grew a little every month. The brothers learned to listen to each other's ideas and solve problems together. One day, John had a brilliant idea. What if we used the foundation's money to create training programs? We could help people and at the same time train employees for our company. Everyone loved the idea. Mary worked hard to create the programs. Mike and Tom helped organize the classes. Sarah used her contacts to publicize the project. The program was a huge success. Many people got jobs after taking the courses. The company gained new talent and a great reputation. As the year went by, the brothers became more and more united. They were no longer just co-workers, but a real family. Finally, the big day arrived. Daniel called everyone into his room to announce the results. The brothers entered nervous but hopeful. They had worked hard and knew the company had grown. But would it be enough? Daniel looked at his children with a smile on his face. "I'm very proud of you," he said. "Not only did you reach the 50% target, you managed to double the value of the company." The room erupted in screams of joy. The brothers hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. They had done it. "You have proven that you are capable of working together and doing incredible things," Daniel continued. "So I'm returning your inheritances as I promised." The brothers were happy, of course, but they realized that money was no longer so important. What really mattered was the family they had rebuilt. "But there's one more thing," said Daniel. "I want you to continue leading the company together. Do you think you can do it?" The brothers looked at each other and smiled. "Yes, Dad," John said, speaking for everyone. "We're ready." Daniel hugged his children one by one. "I'm so proud of you," he said, with tears in his eyes. "You have learned the most important lesson. Together we are stronger." In the years that followed, the family business continued to grow and help more people. John used his talent with numbers to make good deals. Sarah created marketing campaigns that made everyone want to buy the company's products. Mike and Tom made the company famous by always delivering everything on time. Mary expanded the foundation, helping people across the country. And Peter? Well, Peter remained the glue that held everyone together. He helped his brothers when they needed it and made sure everyone worked well together. Daniel watched his children with pride. His plan had worked better than he could have ever imagined. He had not only saved his company, but also his family. One day, while everyone was having lunch together, as they did every week, Daniel looked around the table and smiled. Their children laughed and talked, planning new projects and sharing stories. "You know," Daniel said, making everyone look at him, "you taught me something too." "What, Dad?" asked Mary, curious. Daniel smiled. "That sometimes, to build something really special, you have to tear everything down and start over. But if you have the right people by your side, you can build something even better." The brothers smiled, understanding what their father meant. They had lost everything, but they gained something much more valuable: a united and strong family. And so, the family that was once divided by greed and jealousy was now more united than ever. They faced each new challenge together, knowing that no matter what happened, they would always have each other. Daniel knew he could retire in peace. His legacy was safe in the hands of his children. Not just the family business, but the values he always wanted to pass on: hard work, honesty, and above all, the importance of family. And every night, before going to sleep, each of the brothers gave thanks for the second chance they had been given. A chance to be better, to make a difference in the world, and to be a true family.